We are so dedicated to covering Florida State football that it doesn't matter that they only won 3 games. It doesn't matter that they're not playing for 8 months. It doesn't matter that there's not a whole lot going on. We're going to talk Florida State football, damn it, for 60 minutes. And, of course, we got Jason Parker on the line from NBC6, Mr. Near Perfect, and Logan Robinson from Knoll Game Day. Hi, how you boys doing?
So if he's near perfect, then I'm even more near perfect. I only missed one.
I called you Mr. Near Perfect.
I thought you called him Mr. Near.
No, it was you.
That was your introduction.
I'm doing great. Hey, I found this new reality show that you guys should watch. It's called America. It got a little dark. This last year. There was a pandemic. People, a bunch of Walmart rednecks storming the Capitol. Florida State only winning 3 games. It got a little dark this season, but you guys should really catch up on it. It's a good show.
A lot of yahoos rioting, vandalizing throughout the summer. Yeah, exactly.
A lot of yahoos vandalizing the Capitol building today. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, at least they're keeping it confined to like one block or a city.
Do you no. You really want to no.
I knew this was coming. I was thinking about sending a text message in the group chat earlier today.
This is a non-political show. Let's take note of at least one thing, regardless of what anybody thinks or what their beliefs are. I did not start this.
Well, I realize I live rent-free in both of your minds. I mean, I got Logan sitting here bashing me on Twitter. I know I live rent-free in mine, Mark, but I get it. It's fine.
Absolutely. Thinking about you constantly, Jason.
You guys spend all week going, how can I rile Jason up? So that's fine. I get it. So my New Year's resolution is to continue to live rent-free in both of your heads.
Here, how am I getting rent-free when we're no, we're going to get to it, but a little offensive line argument.
Before Logan babbles on for a second, I do want to give a shout-out to the lady at the concession stand who gave me the cup for free.
Wow.
The cup. Shout-out to the Orange Bowl this year.
You think she was flirting with you?
God, I hope not. Big girl. Big. No. Big. No. Like refrigerator Perry style big. No.
Could start on Florida State's offensive line?
Could be our entire offensive line.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, big girl.
Hey.
Big girls need love, too. But
offer a scholarship. Get her out there.
At this point, the way our offensive line has been the last 5 seasons, she couldn't do worse.
All right. We will continue with the show here. And whatever Jason wants to believe about what space he occupies in my mind to make him feel good, we'll continue that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Got nothing else better to do. All right. We're going to take your comments, your questions, your debate topics. Bring them here. Otherwise, we're talking off season. And it's going to be an interesting off season for everybody. Florida State included, people coming and going constantly. This transfer portal is going nuts. There's like 600 in this thing across the nation. NFL draft decisions to be made in the next week. Logan, who are you expecting to hear from?
One right now, and it started yesterday. Jamie Robinson, a DB from South Carolina. From what I've been told, it's almost close to a done deal. He actually came to visit just with Jerry and Jones, the DB here in Tallahassee on Florida State's roster, and just was here to hang out. But from what we were told, there's a few things clicking in there between him and the staff. Most certainly, Florida State is interested in him, and he is one to make a decision very soon. He's one to before he wants to get in and have a spring semester, so he's gonna have to do that soon. Florida State's spring ends. The drop ad ends on Monday on the 11th, so he doesn't have a lot of time, but I think things are practically done there.
Oh boy.
No, the Wi-Fi is
followed him. So if you're just following the follows, I think things are heading in the direction, because it happened with Jermaine Johnson. It's happened with Milton. And it's happened with a few other transfers and commitments. If you follow the follows with K-Camp, usually things are heading in the right direction for Florida State. So Jamie Robinson.
Logan, your Wi-Fi got a little natty ice there, kind of broke up a little bit. But also, you're talking about transfers coming in. Let's talk about the running back position, because there's a couple running back names out there. I believe there's one guy from LSU, Chris Curry, another guy from Oklahoma State. I don't want to screw up his name, but DeAndre Glass. Can you talk about what we're hearing? Because both of them are reportedly looking at Florida State. Is Florida State in the running for either one of them?
Before Logan takes off on this, I just want to bring to your attention, Jason, what Logan finished off with in giving his, launching into the show here. He finished off with things are headed in the right direction. Did you catch that?
Because he's always going to defend the white coach. So go ahead. Let's move on from there. Logan, before you were rudely interrupted, can you please talk to us about Chris Curry and DeAndre Glass, please?
I have not heard anything on those two guys. I'll be honest with you. Not anything on our side of things. Florida State, I think, is in the looking for building some more running back depth. It seems like that's been the way the last 2 seasons, and 3 actually. But Florida State I've not heard anything on my end on those 2 guys.
What about James Coleman? Have you heard of him transferring from FSU fandom to?
I've not heard anything. No sources plug me with that.
He's sticking with the FSU fandom? Okay, got it.
Getty Images won't allow me to switch. No matter what, when you Google James Coleman, FSU pops up, and then it'd be very difficult to go root for a rival with that. Which running back did you guys hear is trying to transfer in?
Chris Curry from LSU, and then another kid from Oklahoma State, DeAndre Glass.
Man, I'll tell you what, all the running backs that we're supposed to be trying to get, man, if we could like that would be like the greatest running back class ever. Like if you can get, between, Curry, the kid from Oklahoma State, both running backs from Georgia. It's amazing. The transfer portal is very exciting, and a lot of people like to go back and forth with it. I think sometimes it's a little bit of imagination and a little bit too much time on our hands.
If you get one of those guys, one of those 4, that would be good news.
Yep.
I'll be honest with you. Little Cook, I think Little Cook is not a running back. I think he's a slot receiver that's being used improperly. But, when your brother was one of the best running backs to ever play, the best running back that come out of Florida State, it's very difficult to want to follow up in his shadow and want to do something different. I get it.
Yeah, he's more of a guy you can use in the slot. He's versatile, but it's just very hard to live up to Dalvin Cook's name. Dalvin's just a different animal. I want to get into the ETN and Dalvin Cook debate because that's something in the last 48 hours is just stupid. I can't believe people are wasting their time making articles about it. But shout out to them doing that. But I just kind of laugh at it. Dalvin Cook is a different animal. So if you're going to live up to your brother's name, it's just not going to happen. There was maybe some rumors that he was looking around, maybe finding there might be some potential availability at other places, blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of players are doing that, but like there is right now in Florida State's roster, there was guys looking to go to other places, and looks like they're staying in-house and not going anywhere because those options are gone. It's a market.
Something I want to.
Chase, before you get to last week, or a couple weeks ago, I believe it was Logan went off on a certain linebacker who entered the portal. He's now decided that he wants to come back to Florida State. So now, folks, let's give Logan a chance to apologize to Leonard Warner. Go ahead.
What am I apologizing for?
For backing him so much, and now he is coming back to be in the Garden and Gold. So I
was backing him. I had never backed 35.
Would like you to apologize to 35.
Apologize to him? Well, welcome back. Welcome back. I know that punt team was kind of lacking in blocking.
Sure.
Punt return could have been a little bit better.
It's true.
I thought his skill set and kick return was solid. So I think special teams is going to look nice back there with an experienced player.
In his defense, he's not even good. So that's your apology right there. So fifth year senior.
I didn't say he was the next Marvin Jones. I was just saying he's one of us. He is sticking with the Noles. So I just wanted Logan to take back his negative energy that he brought. I'm bringing positive energy in 2021.
Something that's kind of backfired, and I need fans to understand this. And I got into it with the beat writer when all of this transfer portal stuff first started. And the guy was jumping the gun, because everything is about being in front of everybody. I have to be first type stuff. And having been a performance trainer for the better part of my adult life and being in athletics, especially at college level, and seeing guys before the transfer portal weigh the option to like leave and decide that they want to like, transfer out, a lot goes into it. I think we're going to talk about that tomorrow on 36 Degrees. Especially with your class, you came in with these guys, you bled, you sweat. These are your brothers. You don't want to leave them. And I know a lot of kids that was going through their head, but the major thing is when it's your university and your beat, it's a little bit different. But you can really throw off some stuff and put some kids in a very precarious situation. I.e., let's say hypothetically Cook did want to transfer out. Let's say hypothetically Trey Sanders did want to transfer out. Their name hadn't hit the portal yet, and hypothetically there is communication and channels that have to happen for people to be able to weigh the odds, because you don't want to go in there naked, right? But when the gun is jumped and you got a bunch of fans talking, because all it is a measuring contest on Twitter, and you're starting to talk trash and you're talking trash between message boards, some coaches do pay attention a little bit to those message boards and do pay attention to that, as well as your teammates. And then when you get sized up on a teammate about a decision that you might have talked to somebody fleeting, like in just passing, and now you're kind of held to task, like, that's a lot. And I think that's something that people got to be careful. It's cool because we all feel like we're just, playing the dozens and shooting the crap. But there are some guys who have to have some real life consequences, because I can only imagine the conversation with the guy I know in Kirby Smart, or a guy who I don't know, but a guy who I equally fear in a respectful manner in Nick Saban, when you may have not even entertained the idea of leaving. But now you got to talk about, why am I hearing all of this smoke about you possibly transferring? So that's just something just so far fans to kind of just, be aware of, especially when they haven't hit the portal yet, because you may have actually messed us up, hypothetically speaking.
Since I called Logan out, I'm going to actually give Logan credit for being right about something. I think Logan is correct about saying, I'm talking about James Cook, and I wanted James Cook to come to Florida State big time. You're not going to follow Dalvin Cook, arguably, I'd probably say the second best running back in Florida State history behind Warrick Dunn. I'm sorry, Warrick Dunn will always be number one for me, but I would probably put Dalvin at number two. To follow that, he had to go somewhere else. He had to start his legacy somewhere else, because even if he had come to Florida State, he was always going to be Dalvin's little brother unless he ran for 1,500 yards and led us to a national title. That's the only way James Cook ever would have topped anything Dalvin ever did. So it was a good thing he went to Georgia. I don't think – stay away from Tallahassee. You will always be Dalvin's little brother. Sorry.
And this is not really knocking on Florida State's running back unit right now. I thought Corbin finished off the season very nicely. Toafili is going to be that starting running back. He's going to take that role. I thought Corbin really played hard. I know it's Duke and all that, but I thought the way they finished the season was nice. Toafili's just got to put on a little bit more pounds just for hitting to be able to stand through games and stay healthy. But you can definitely see why Norvell really wanted to keep him. They had to keep him, and they're right when he came to Tallahassee, Norvell Toafili was his top guy to call, first guy, and Toafili has really, really good speed off the edge, and he's got really good vision. And that might just be where the offensive line is getting better, which we'll get into, Jason. But just building depth, though, is something is why we're talking about it.
I've recognized here in the live chat that Phil B and Jason are just running neck and neck, just complete synergy, symmetry in their mindset and thoughts, analysis. Mackenzie Milton is going to tear it up next year. And Phil B also with the comment that Willie ruined Florida State football. He should have been fired earlier.
Logan, remind me real quick of something, Logan. Remind me I don't live rent-free in Mark's mind. Just remind me of that fact. I don't.
You just found out that definition.
He pulls up the comments just to try to fire me up, but remind me I don't live rent-free there. Got it. Okay.
Did you just find out that definition? Because this is the first time tonight I've heard rent-free come from you.
Yeah,
I've said rent-free before, but I've decided that in 2021, since I got bashed for saying Mazel Tov too much, I'm going to decide that rent-free is going to be my new Mazel Tov.
He's grabbed a phrase from 2004 and he's using it now.
Just like Monday, our phrase that we're going to be saying is "Roll Tide," right?
No, we won't be. No, we won't be. Because Ohio State guys have not understood and taken COVID protocol seriously.
This is true.
Wash your hands, cover your mouth, and use PPE. If you're down with PPE, yeah, you know me. You're down with PPE, especially if you're dealing with OPP. You need to make sure you're dealing with PPE. But I can't wait for Ohio. I'm rooting for Ohio State though.
Okay,
Mark,
first
you got that on you.
First of all, solid use of the song. I like that. I like that down with PPP. I like that very much. And while I would love to see Ohio State win in Miami's house, because Miami's still pissed about that Fiesta Bowl from 2002 season. I'm still trying to figure out that one, but their fans are still pissed about that one. As nice as it would be, do we really want Mark to be happy for a whole year talking about Ohio State being national champs? Really?
Bring in some good energy if he's happy. I don't know.
What if they get a sponsor? Can't maybe for Ohio State.
As long as you're living rent free in my head, Jason, I'm a happy guy.
Rent free, right here. Don't worry, I'll bring chips and dip. I'll bring dinner one night. Don't worry. Living rent free.
Bring us a sponsor too.
Yeah.
Bring a sponsor home with you too, Jason.
I would have today, but I actually had a job. I had a job here, stuff. So sorry, I had to work today.
I'm about to charge you rent unless you get us a sponsor.
Listen, man. Plus, this is the reason why I have to give it up to Mark, because I could not. I think he played 2 drives too much, because now the team that I have to cover that my son roots for, because he doesn't know any better, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And now we get an opportunity to see Trevor Lawrence get all healthy, get his hair right, get it all pristine, possibly do something with his mustache, because that is a little weird. Either shave it or grow it. Commit. Got to commit to one or the other. And, I couldn't take any more hits, because those guys were literally, they were knocking the hell out of him. It made him look human for the first time in a while, in quite some time. So I didn't need him to go against Alabama. I like Justin Fields, but I didn't need Trevor, that D-line, doing the same thing, because we could have possibly lost Trevor Lawrence.
It's a nice basement. Podcast from basement? Probably a second floor apartment, but okay. I will say in the spirit of giving, I will give you guys the chance to glorify my name as being the only person who said Ohio State and Alabama.
Whoa. No.
Hey.
Amongst the three of us, James, Logan, and I'm the only one. Last week, you said you did. You absolutely did. You said Ohio State could win, but you picked Clemson. Mark, Ohio State, Alabama. I said Ohio State.
I'm actually talking about in August. Anyone here can look up the video. The preseason Ohio State, Alabama was predicted by.
I went 2-0.
Yeah. I would take Mandy's kicker. She could probably kick better than any of the 4 of us. But all right.
She can kick those extra points.
She
certainly deserves a roster spot. Definitely.
Cool.
Let's bring in the real field goal kicker to kick the field goals. She can nail those extra points. Let's do that.
Did you watch Vanderbilt this season at all, Mark? Or did you just watch the condensed game?
All I needed to do when she kicked those 2 extra points was check a box score, and I was just curious. Let's see if somebody else kicked the field. Oh, yeah, they got a guy kicking field goal. I know what the deal is here.
That's nice. Yeah. Nice PR.
Spoken like somebody who never kicked a football. Got it. Okay, cool.
It doesn't matter.
You're bashing a girl for kicking 2 extra points. Got it. Cool.
Kickers aren't people, so it doesn't matter.
Well, this is true, and we know that from our years of wide right. The kickers are evil.
So if there was a college football team and they had a quarterback who ran all the plays until they got to the 1-yard line, and they had somebody just do a Tom Brady and take in the 1-yard plunge, and that's all he did. He just scored like 20
in 2006.
He accounted for like 4,000 yards. This guy accounts for like 37 carries, 37 yards, but scores like 35 touchdowns. Like you would be okay with that.
Wait, please tell me you're not defending Tim Tebow in 2006.
Tim Tebow was not the starting quarterback in 2000.
Thank you. Chris
Chris
Lee.
Lee would drop up and down the
I
field
don't-
and they'll put Tebow in for a jump pass.
Yes.
Right. Chris Lee gets none of the credit for 2006. He deserves
Yeah,
all the
that's because people don't know what's going on. But yes, the next 2 years, Tim Tebow was arguably the best quarterback in college football.
And all your team had to do was just beat them in the national championship game, but you had to jump on Ted Ginn after the touchdown. You had to jump on Ted Ginn's ankle, didn't you?
For as much as I would love to think Ted Ginn would have saved us, it was a little more of a route than that. It was pretty bad. All right.
Miami Dolphins.
Can I talk offensive line, Mark?
Yes. Oh man, I want Logan's offensive line.
Hold on. Before you do
Actually,
let's preface this today. A viewer of Noel Game Day or one
No. This is Mark. This is Mark's show.
of Mark's viewer, I apologize. A viewer of Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, tweeted Logan about the FSU offensive line, bragging about the FSU offensive line. Now, as you know, for much of this season, I have been much of the last 5 seasons, I have been bashing our offensive line as being pathetic. I stand by my statement. Logan and this fan, Traditional is his name?
Traditional.
Shout out to Traditional on Twitter. Decided that let's brag about being 3-6 and talk about how great our offensive line was during a 3-6 season, our worst record since 1975. So now, Logan, go ahead and brag about a 3-6 offensive line. Go ahead.
Before Logan takes it away here, you have my full invite, Logan, of course, to prep us for the spring. We'll have Logan on here. We'll do positional breakdowns. We'll start with the offensive line, do a full 15, 20 minutes on the offensive line. It'll be great.
The best this offensive line this season, I'm gonna do like Logan. I'm gonna be positive about Florida State. Our offensive line in 2020 was better than 93, 99, and 2013 combined. If God could make 5 offensive linemen come down and make the perfect offensive line, that would be what Florida State had, right, Logan? This is what Logan's going to tell you, viewers. Go ahead, Logan.
No. Improvement at Florida State on the offensive line unit. You'll take that any day of the week. Brendan Sinone put out a good tweet here. This is what I was tagged in, but Florida State's yard per carry average 5.11 yards, cracked the top 25 for the first time since 2015, Jason. Florida State had an All-American at right tackle, true freshman.
What's his name?
A freshman All-American.
What's his name?
Fifth.
Say his name.
Devontae Love Taylor was FSU's highest graded offensive tackle since 2016. And FSU got its first 4-star offensive tackle signee since 16.
Okay, so we're bragging about a signee who hasn't played it down yet. You're bragging about Love Taylor, who left several games injured. And how many games did he miss?
So that means that it could have been better. It could have even been better than that.
How many games did he miss at the end of the season? Oh, yeah, because he would have saved us in a 32-point loss to Louisville. And why are you not giving any credit to the running backs? And as I wrote on there, this is the first time since arguably the 2013 season that Florida State has had several decent running backs and not just relying on one. Not just relying on Dalvin Cook.
No. Oh, yeah, you did say something about Cam Akers, too. I think I need to ask you about that. You said that Cam Akers was
Here we go.
Now
watch this, James. He's going to twist my words up.
He said maybe, just maybe, our running backs were better than the one horse that was Cam Akers last season.
What other running backs were there to assist Cam Akers?
Who was good but couldn't have done it all on his own.
Right, Cam Akers was very good, but he had it all on his own for 3 seasons. So now you have decent running backs, as we've talked about. You talked about several. You talked about Corbin. You talked about Toafili. We have a decent running back room. I'm not saying that our offensive line is the worst thing in the face of God's green earth. But to sit here and say that the offensive line made vast improvements from last season is statistically incorrect. And to not give the running backs credit, you're sitting here wanting to give the offensive line all the credit and just dissing the running backs. I'm saying give the running backs a hell of a lot more
I'm
credit.
not dissing the running backs. It's just all about talking about the offensive line improvement.
I'm saying that the running backs were better and the offensive line was still atrocious. And this was a better running back room.
Meanwhile, Cam Akers is in the NFL.
Hold on, James. James is the only person who played running back in Garnet and Gold.
Starting, I should say, in the NFL, start in the middle of the season. He's a starting running back, and he'll be starting in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
True rookie.
Cam Akers is damn good.
Yeah, and he also kicked my butt in the final week of fantasy, knocked me out of the playoffs. Thanks, Cam.
There it is. Now we know what the hatred is for him.
I don't have hate. I love him. He's 8 years old.
I made a statement about Cam Akers is that he's a poor man's version of Dalvin Cook. Watching him his freshman year, watching his highlight film coming from high school coming in because he's very explosive. His problem was that his second level vision is lacking, and it still is lacking to this day. He can't separate like Dalvin could. But here's something that people aren't really paying attention when it comes to that is that there is whether I know people don't like to bring up this Willie guy here, but Willie's lethal simplicity and what we saw this year on the field had a lot of commonalities. The difference is the quarterback knew how to pull out and knew when to give. So having a dynamic quarterback is what really has inflated these numbers, and it makes your running game that much better. Statistically speaking, go and look at the amount of carries and look at the amount of yards that are had or that were shared from the running back. So you'll see that Jordan Travis was literally that guy. Jordan Travis had the most carries in the game. I believe he might have had some of the most carries over the season. He consistently had more yards than everybody. So that was a big thing on again the offense. If he just gave it all the time, you would consistently see a lack of a running game, much like Willie's first year. But being able to pull the ball and being wise enough to be able to do that was what allowed this team to be a lot better in the running game. Now, the things that people really care about with the offensive line, which is the passing game and stuff like that, was noticeably worse. And those are the things that I think we can – and I get what Seminoles has done. They did this all year. And I guess it does take a little – it gives a little bit of good smelling on the shit pile that was this season, which was 3-6. But I'm sorry, if you go in the bathroom and you spray all the air freshener you want, if you don't go and flush the toilet and address the situation, it's going to stink a little bit later on. And that's the truth. But there is a positive come out of that. I do believe that if you're going to say, James, which coach earned their check more this season than anybody else, I would say Alex Atkins did, because the real thing with all this is that Alex never had the same offensive line unit for the entire, even for a continuity of one game. So if Love Taylor can have an offseason to get healthy and get better, if Maurice Smith can get better and get healthy and maybe go to class sometimes and not have to get suspended for stupid things, if we could get Lucas to focus more in the weight room and actually beating defenders during the play as opposed to after the play, and you get a Mims that comes in and develops, you actually might see your guys take that next step. But until you really get a definitive passing game, we're going to just be looking for feel-good stories, and that's cool. Moral victories are from minor league coaches. To quote one of my favorite rappers, Jay-Z, and we're trying to be major, and we can't be sitting here looking for that because that's just it's cool for Vanderbilt. It's a Vanderbilt female kicker kicking an extra point. She did kick 2 extra points, Mark, like you said, but she didn't kick the field goal. Somebody else came and did that. So that's what that article is. I mean, it's not a lie. It is the truth. It is what happened, but there's more to it than that.
Well, just remember, Logan's part of that desperation group. The Mike Norvell is our savior. Mike Norvell is the greatest thing in the world since Bobby Bowden. So he is looking for that salvation. So that's why he's trying to brag about something in a 3-6 season. That's Logan Robinson from Noel Game Day.
What Mark, he might hold on now. That's not there's a lot of things that went on.
Shout out to Noel Game Day.
Passes. People didn't catch passes, but now we'll have a good we'll have actual quarterback competition this spring. We'll have some pieces that are coming in through the transfer portal. We got some guys who know the system, so next year should be better. And more and more you look at stuff, Notre Dame's going to lose a lot to the transfer portal. They're going to lose a lot to the NFL. You got the things getting next to you, but again, it's going to be similar to these last guys if they don't. We can't keep wishing on the start. But I do believe Mike is going to be a coach. I think Mike can get us there. I just have to talk about what the situation is right now.
I will say really quickly, though, Logan is, in all seriousness, all kidding, we joke aside, we all do love each other. We love Mark. We love Logan. We love James. I think you guys like me. But I will say Logan is good at two very good things.
Oh, here we go.
One, bragging about a 3-6 season.
Oh, yeah.
He's great at that. He's been phenomenal at that all season. And number two, telling you to hit that like button.
Smash the like button. What are we at? How many viewers are we at? Almost 50, 21 likes. That's not too bad.
You've had 30 minutes to get ready for this moment. You do it every week.
But then you got to find different creative ways of saying the same thing over and over for this many weeks, though. But all I'm going to say right now is if you're tired of looking at political stuff on Twitter, you came here on YouTube to enjoy a good time. Smash the like button. That's why I'm here. I'm here to talk sports, and I'm going to do it all for the rest of the night. It's all over Twitter. It's enough. But if y'all are here and want to actually talk about some football, some sports, smash that like button. We're here every Wednesday. We haven't stopped for a long time now. What week is it?
Guys give their time every week. So I want, starting with Jason, just tell everybody what's going on, where they can find you.
You can find me on NBC6.com. We will have this week the national championship game is actually down here. Florida State used to play in that national championship game. Shout out to 7 years ago when the greatest college football team ever won their national title in the Rose Bowl over Auburn. But we will have that this week. Ohio State and Alabama come down here. We will have previews all week, including a story on why this game will destroy the hearts of Miami football fans. Let's see if Mark can figure out why. Why is this game going to destroy the hearts of Miami football fans, no matter who wins?
It's got to be.
Oh, regardless of who wins.
Regardless of who wins.
Just
I think that went over.
If Ohio State wins, they win in the home of the Miami Hurricanes, who are still bitter about that Fiesta Bowl in the 2002 season. And if Alabama wins, Nick Saban wins his second national title inside the home of the Miami Dolphins, after he said, I'm not going to be the coach at Alabama in 2006.
Who came up with that clever angle?
I did. So once again, Miami fans will suffer either way. So it's a holiday miracle for all of us.
Yep.
Logan, what about you?
I didn't know there was Miami Hurricanes fans still like I think they just go back to their hibernation after the football season's over, right? I didn't know that they are here during the off season because I don't see any Miami fans. It's surprising. It's shocking. This is the first time tonight we don't see any Miami fans in here chatting.
Which is weird because they're normally on house arrest, so normally they have to be near a computer to be inside their home. So I get that. I understand
Ankle
that.
bracelet zapping.
Pretty much. Logan, what's going on with Mill Game Day? What are you guys doing other than your breakdown of the offensive line for the 2022?
No, we'll be having a whole podcast talking about the improvement of the offensive line for Jason. It'll be directed just to him.
Can I come on there? Can I?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, but I know you'll want to listen to it.
Let me know.
I will. I'll send the link. But nothing much, man. Just podcasting away. Trying to get a little bit more creative content. We're actually going to start building a content team. We're putting out a application for that, I believe, tomorrow at some point. So kind of getting prep. Basketball's in limbo right now. Don't know what the schedule's looking like there on that end. But basketball coverage, Discording, Patreon, everything, message boarding, covering transfers, follow the follows. That's all it is. But you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. But yeah, that's practically it. Nothing too special.
Now, my ultimate question for James Coleman over at Fifth Quarter. James, have you guys put your Trevor countdown clock on your website yet? He's laughing. I think they're planning something.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, James.
Sorry, I had to on mute. My bad. I had to on mute. Our NFL site for Fifth Quarter isn't as developed as our college part, but that should be, especially once we're doing a Fifth Quarter Jacksonville in general. Like, the city is lit. They're happy. It is getting me tons of followers. I'm losing a couple for various reasons for things going on, but I'm getting a ton right now because the Trevor dialogue, the Urban Meyer, the coaching searches, that's when you make your money. Like I joke with people all the time. It's two ways to make money: winning or coaching searches. So like I'm all coaching search out on the college side. I've made my bones. That's how I got the 10,000 followers the first time. So hopefully I'm going to get Florida State will be winning. But the Trevor Lawrence thing gives us a quarterback that we know for the next 5 years will actually have that can have some hope in. And if we can get a competent play caller, I say we, but I personally don't have any vested interest in the Jaguars winning. But when the Jaguars win, it makes my job that much easier. And it's a lot more fun when one of the teams that I cover, for the most part, wins games. That's all love.
3 names I've heard in the coaching search are Dabo Swinney, Urban Meyer, and Dan Mullen. Are you personally prepared for one of those 3 names to possibly be the next coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I'm going to be honest with you. I hope it's Urban Meyer. I don't want Dabo. I would like Dabo to coach in the NFL just because I'm tired of Dabo coaching in college. But I don't want Dabo anywhere near a franchise that I cover because, God, he can't handle college media. We would take his lunch on the NFL side. Then I do believe there's a lot of smoke with that, but I think that's because him and his athletic director weren't seeing eye to eye with some of the firings that were made to happen in this offseason. So, but I think also Dan saw firsthand what his recruiting has netted him in that bowl game. So if I saw that and I saw who my guys had to throw to and the guys I had coming back, I wouldn't want to be there very long either. But Dan ain't coming to Jacksonville. It's Urban, Bieniemy, I think it's Sly, the defense coordinator from San Francisco. Those guys, but Urban without having to babysit guys. Oh my God, he could be the GOAT. Now, granted, we may have people who break all 10 of the commandments, but I don't care if they're good people. I care about winning. Like, that's what I want. Like, people baffle me with this. My kids have only one person that I need them to model themselves after, and that is the namesake, James Anthony Coleman II. And I'm going to give them some bad stuff. Now, there may be some things I need them to take away, but the last thing I need them to do is say, when I grow up, I want to be Chico, Aaron Hernandez, unless they're a tight end. Now, if they're a tight end, I'm going to be like, you know what? Aaron Hernandez did a lot of good stuff at tight end. Now, the murders and the shooting and the gangbang, and other stuff, I still love them, but let's try not to do that. Let's keep it focused on football. Jacksonville's a great place to get in trouble and to do those things. You could get everything that you want here in the Bengal. The nickname is the Bengal. We have a commercial that runs on my radio show called Mad Dads, where a guy literally does a PSA telling people to stop the violence. Like, please stop killing each other. That's the PSA that runs like 2 or 3 times on my show. Imagine Jacksonville winning and having all the criminal element that an Urban Meyer team brings. Urban, but bigger than that, all jokes aside, here's why I really like Urban. Urban hates losing so much that it makes him sick. Ain't nothing wrong physically with Urban Meyer. His heart never been stronger. Mm-hmm. He quit because of his heart and then took a more taxi job that had him flying all across the country in the middle of the night. He didn't leave Ohio State because his head was hurting. He left Ohio State because he was like, I'm kind of bored. I can't keep getting that national championship. I might have maxed out here. Let me let Ryan Day, let my pup do something. And now he's flying on the West Coast. So I know if he comes here, we're going to win or he's going to die. And that's great. That's either way, that's great radio. That's great media.
So for a guy that lost 1 game per year in college football, how is he going to survive losing 5, 6, 8, 10 games a year?
He's not. He's not. That's why it's great.
Guys, Logan and Mark, I think we caught on to something. James is a closet Jaguars fan. Deep down inside, he is a closet Jaguars fan. He screams Duval when they score a touchdown.
Listen, it was the best of times. It has been the worst of times. 2017 was an amazing year. It caught everybody off guard. So how the Jacksonville sports calendar works. You got, once August hits, nobody can take vacation. You're basically working round the clock during football season on weekends. So the goal is October. We want to set ourselves up to play meaningful games in November and not have to talk about the draft. In November, we want to set ourselves up to play meaningful games in December so that we don't have to talk about the draft. in my entire time on radio and even doing news, I had never got to the point of December playing meaningful games. So I didn't know what to do. Like we were, it was weird. Then the fight happened when the guy came up in the stands, and apparently Mayor Curry was right there ready to kick the guy too, which is amazing. Which is an even better story when they hear him say that. Then all of a sudden January comes, and we're like, wait a minute, we have a playoff. Like we didn't even know protocols. We didn't know how to get press passes. So not only did we beat Buffalo, we won the next week, and we're like, well, what do you do now? Then we should have won. Miles Jack being down. So again, that was fun, but it messed up our entire calendar because 2 weeks later, most of us forgot National Signing Day, and I was the last, like, just where February actually meant something. So we completely forgot about that. The TPC comes up on you. Then all these things, it's like it messed up. It was the first time we had a year. So 2018, I basically had a year of sports coverage and no lulls. And I longed for that. They stunk. They stunk again in 2018. And in 2019, when they were terrible. And in 2020, the plan was executed perfectly. The whole goal was to lose so that we can get Ed Coulter to be our quarterback.
The Jets cooperated. James, and Logan, I'm going to apologize to both of you, but I got to do this. Bam. I practically knock you guys out with these graphics, but this is a super chat, so we will give this up to Redbeard. Thank you so much, Redbeard, who says, hello, gentlemen. Do you think Florida State's recruiting for the incoming class of 2021, including transfers, looks better, the same, or worse if we had not played all of 2020?
I don't think the season had to play as much of a role in it because I know a couple guys who signed with Miami, using Miami as an example, who only signed with Miami because with COVID protocols, with not being able to travel, not being able to visit other schools, they went to what they know. They committed to what they know. They stuck with the commitment. They signed with Miami early on. I'm not saying any of them would have come to Florida State. I'm not saying all of them would have come to Florida State. But if the option was out there like any other year where you're able to take your 5 visits more, you're able to go do more things like when James was going to school, when I was going to school, even when Logan was looking at schools, I think we may have gotten a few more better guys. But for the most part, I think that had more of a role than the 3-6 season Logan praises.
Oh, yeah, I'd bask over it. I don't know. I think honestly wouldn't have changed too much of anything. I think if COVID-19 wasn't going on, you still had a 3-6 season, I think it would have played more of an effect when you're losing those kind of games that you should have won. I think it would have affected recruiting more. But I don't think it would have done too much, in my opinion.
I agree. I think if we didn't play a season, it would have, because that was the excuse for 2020. Like, why wasn't the recruiting class good? Or when we were talking about the season, like, why was it, or the off season, why weren't we getting that traction? Is what does he have to sell? We've been so bad the last couple of years, yada yada yada. What we need, he has to, once we get the on-field product. The on-field product got here, and luckily for Florida State. But I will say this, to the detriment of the game and for players in the future, for the next probably 3 to 4 classes. I'm just grateful to have a younger son, because if your kid's not, I'm gonna tell you this: if your kid is playing sports, you better invest in your damn kid. Your kid got to be really, really good these next couple of recruiting classes to be able to get in, because the transfer portal is going to be so. Junior college is going to be so deep that it's going to affect people. It's going to take some time for it to eat itself out. But with that, and guys, keeping a lot of their in schools saying like, no, we have the budget for 85 scholarships. We don't have the budget for 100 scholarships. These guys got to go. They got to find somewhere. They ain't got to go home, but they got to get the hell out of here. So that helps Florida State from a transfer portal side, but also get some recruits like the young man from down in Miami. I can't think of his name right now. KP, or I think it's KP. No, KP is from Kansas. These kids' names. The defensive end, the long, lanky defensive end, that was a 4-star that we got. that helps get those guys. That helps get a few other kids. But at some point, they got to come out smoking. Because if they don't, that 2022 class is really the class that Norvell has to get. You've got multiple legacies that are really, really good in there. You got this kid that, for the life of me, I don't understand why they haven't fixed him to reclassify Travis Hunter. Like, if I need to go to Atlanta and drop a bag and no longer be around the program to get this young man, just let me know. Like, he's that damn good, and he can play whatever he wants to play. So, but if you can have a Travis Hunter, you can get a Marvin Jones, you can get Amelie or Amarillo, the offensive lineman from St. Thomas Aquinas, and I'm trying to remember the other legacy. His dad played linebacker for Florida State.
Marvin Jones.
No, I already said Marvin. I already said Marvin Jones. It'll come to me. Anyways, it's a couple legacies. You get those guys and some key transfers, you're going to be fine.
Sammy Miami, thank you so much for the super sticker, whatever that is, but it's a super sticker. No comment included. And we appreciate the super chat, super sticker contribution there.
Finally, the Miami fans are showing up. Took a little while.
They heard you. They were like, okay, we got to go after this guy.
Got to get the army together.
Exactly. Get this party started.
Here they come.
At the Hooters.
They're welcome.
Hey, don't knock Hooters now, all right?
I promise I won't.
I'm not like you're special. You know you
I did watch last year's national championship, at least half of it at a Hooters, but the game was getting it kind of out of hand a little bit near then.
And I do think
Jay Walsh here in the live chat is asking why Marvin Wilson isn't any good. He was supposed to be a top 20 defensive lineman.
Have you ever seen the movie Space Jam? So what happened was the Monstars came in and they took all of his ability, and then he was a shell. It was there. He remembered being good, but that's what I mean. It happens, man. People just one day you're good and one day you're not, or the scheme was different, or maybe the motivation wasn't. But I will say this though, and good on you for breaking that story, Logan.
That's you about to say.
He got one of the best agents in the game. And Nicole Lynn, he signed young with Lil Wayne's sports agency that he finances. He does not handle any contracts. He writes checks and he gets a dividend. He gets it if they make money. And Nicole Lynn only represents guys that she believes in that be big time. So that, for me, that makes me feel like maybe Marvin's a second or third round pick, and not what I would think like a fifth or sixth round guy. But my assessment and what some of my other friends' assessment is that Marvin has a very upper body and chicken legs, and that never really at a certain point when you get up to certain levels, that eventually comes to hurt you. Because and he ain't got no hips. If you watch his films where he's doing his hand drills, he's always like he'd be easy to block if from my perspective.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened with him this season. I think he was kind of not on the same page with the team. Obviously, Odell's Odell, but I don't think he was on the same page with Norvell for a majority of the season, just right off the bat in the off season before the season even started. I think he and Durden kind of thought, what they had been doing in their career was going to be fine. And I mean, last season wasn't really fantastic. But you just thought the mob coming back for round 2 would make an impact, and that just wasn't the case at all this season. Durden's always been a guy that is mentally constrained himself, I think, with doing just the little things. He's always had the physical ability, but the mental game is not there for Durden. I think Marvin got a little bit too close to him. I think Lovett is a guy that I wish was on this team last year. I think he's got the right mind. He's got a good head on his shoulders, but I think Marvin it's just simple, had too much hype since his beginning at Florida State. people were instantly comparing him to Timmy Jernigan, and we now know that is one of the stupidest comparisons that have been made in very long time related to Florida State athletics. Absolutely atrocious that was happening.
For all FSU fans, here's your programming note: do not compare anyone to Timmy Jernigan to Logan's face. Timmy Jernigan is his God, his Messiah, and he will go off on you.
And I like his rap game too.
His rap game is awesome. His rap game.
I've never heard him.
You got to listen
to.
I've
never heard him rap, but I remember when Timmy committed. It was one of the few times when I would do spot radio, and I was going on Rick Ballou show. I had to talk about the FSU recruiting class, and some people were like, "Hey man, did you see the guy we just signed?" It was like a 5 p.m. It was a later LOI got sent in. I was like, man, I never really paid attention to this kid. Let me hit the Google up, type in Timmy Jernigan, and it was like 4 minutes of pure violence, and I loved it. I loved every second of this highlight film. It was like it was like watching a kid who needed a positive male role model and a hug. But on the football field, that is great. I need that. Like be a terrorist on the football field.
Was that
great citizen in real life?
Like Darnell Dockett, kind of. I didn't get to see Darnell Dockett play, but was that kind of what you would have compared Timmy J to as a former player? Was Darnell Dockett probably?
That would be the closest. But Dockett's highlight film, you got to YouTube that. Like it's not his highlight film. It's just normal news clip of kids talking about the guys he played against. Talking about Dockett, and it looks like a 8th grader coming to a 5th grade kid's recess and bullying all the kids around there. It is just it's funny to watch. But Dockett was really good. But Dockett also had had guys like Trav Johnson. He had what's Pig's real name? Jeff Womble. Jeff Womble's Pig's real. I'm sorry, I'm D. This is why people don't believe me. I call him White Mike. Everybody got a nickname. Everybody has a nickname. There's a guy who I can literally just say, "Hey, what's up, Pete?" and he's going to answer me. That's not the most. That ain't a nickname that people just lining up to have right there. But he has some good talent. But Timmy Jernigan was just you got to have guys who are bullies when it comes to that. Not just guys who want to be pass rushers, but guys who are leveling offensive linemen and running backs at the same time.
James, I have a quick question for you because you kind of touched on it a little bit ago about some of the legacy recruits. Some of the guys in Florida State has missed out on a couple in the last few seasons. You know, Devin Bush going to Michigan, Bradley Jennings going to Miami. We've missed out on a couple more of late. There's a couple guys that are looking at FSU. You've got Marvin Jones Jr. From down here at American Heritage. You've got Julian Armella, whose dad was an offensive lineman on the 93 team, who's from down here from Gulliver Prep. Lamont Green Jr. He's
that's what I was thinking of.
Right. How important is it for Florida State to start to get some of those legacy recruits coming back to Florida State? You know, obviously we had Stanford Samuel come in. He played for a few seasons. Now he's in the NFL. How important is it for Florida State to get back to getting those legacies back in Garnet and Gold?
Well, I mean, I think it's important because those legacies did that. Well, two of them. One's dad is, to me, the greatest college linebacker to ever play. That's my opinion with Marvin Jones. Mike Green was a really good player. I think it was Jesus Fernandez. You probably wouldn't recognize his name, but he doesn't check. But his son is legit. He's a large kid. They at least know what it was like when people talk about the old days, and they've got a presence of guys who command excellence. I think that's the biggest drop-off is accountability. When I look at the guys who are in the national championship game, really, when I listen to this Urban Meyer podcast, when I listen to Nick Saban talk, I hear about accountability and holding yourself to a standard, which is why I say standard over everything. When knowing Marvin Jones, I've gotten to know him, Marvin holds himself to a standard, and his son is embracing the fact of who his father was. So he's performing like he's the second coming of said Marvin Jones. Lamont Green, you can see videos over the last 2 to 3 years of him spending time with his son, shaping him. You see him with them thick Coke bottle glasses, like doing all kinds of crazy workouts, getting strong, and like to see his body fill out, like from this gangly kid with the loose a t-shirts to like really like just abs and massive, looking kind of crazy. Like I kind of want to pick on him because he loves nerd, but he's a jack nerd too. So like he might get me. And then looking at, I remember the film of Amelo, or however you say it, Amario, however you say it. They say he cheated or he did something in the D lineman, but I like the nastiness. Like bringing those guys injected into your culture can completely change the game, because you got to have, at this point, everybody who comes into that locker room has to come into that locker room looking to take people's lunch money, because we haven't had that. When I came in, I had a mentality like that, but it was about 40 other cats who had that mentality, who were like, we're going to beat your lunch. We're going to beat your behind for even thinking you could do that, you little snot-nosed freshman. But right now, it's a bunch of nice guys, really good gentlemen. And unfortunately, that's great off the field. We need some tough guys on the field and guys that people fear, because you'll see a lot of these things clean up. But if you can't win with these guys, and then these guys are good enough to attract other guys. Miami's strategy this year was good. Miami got guys like Leonard Taylor. They got a bunch of local guys that committed early. Even if it was a BS commit, it was a commit like, with COVID, who knows? If I want to decommit, at least I locked my spot. But what happened was they created a momentum, and that made other people want to be around good people. Like, bump all that culture and blah, 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 and give me a 2-star with great heart and good mentality. No, if you're a dog, you get attracted to want to play with other dogs. Those kids are dogs from what I've seen. They're going to Travis Hunter is a dog. They're going to attract other dogs that want to play with them. And then that's what this thing that people think is culture, that's how it gets changed. Iron sharpens iron, period. Like, it's in the Bible. It's in any kind of tall tale, whatever you want to be. You can only get good being around other people who are good. If you're like the 2 stars and the 3 stars at Clemson, or that get good, don't get good because they're around a bunch of other ducks. They get good because they're around a bunch of other 5 stars, and their development and their cream rose to the top. That's how you get to the thing, and that's how Mike can make it a quick turnaround. But you can't go 3-6 again. You have to be able to. It has to be an Ole Miss year at worst. If it is a 500 year, it's got to be a 500 year where people see the excitement in the offense. If you see the excitement in the offense, you're going to keep the good offensive players. You're going to also get other kids to flip. If people can see the competence on the defense side, you're going to get people who want to come to you. But if it's 3 to 4 wins, and your wins were close games against Ducks, and all your losses were blowouts, then nobody's going to want to come there.
Has anybody else noticed James's analogy game tonight? He had a bathroom analogy, a bird analogy, iron analogy. Like, you've been all over the spectrum.
James also did a nice job of, within his little soliloquy, looked down at the question, saw that Redbeard was hitting on Travis Hunter on that topic, and James weaved it right in there. So, Redbeard, if you didn't notice, James answered your question perfectly.
Chad Kinsler saying that Marvin Jones is the greatest college linebacker, hands down. There's very few that I could put in that.
Oh my God, I hate that. I swear I hate people. Ray Lewis is the greatest, maybe the greatest NFL linebacker. But if you watch college football, you would not make that statement. Ray Lewis wouldn't make that statement. That's God. He's not even the greatest college. He's the greatest linebacker in Miami history.
Ray Lewis.
James, I'm not talking to you when I say this, but I'll address you because of your response. You know that people just flock to names, and most of them aren't making their own evaluation. Number one, they probably don't know enough to make an evaluation, but even if they did, they're just flocking to names. And Ray Lewis, everybody knows Ray Lewis. And yes, NFL, all time at the top of the list. Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Hold on, but Mark, why do Miami fans talk about that 01 team being the greatest college team of all time? Their first argument that they use, look at all the players who got drafted to the NFL. Okay, that's great. What did they do that year in college? They barely beat Boston College. The score got inflated because of the touchdown where Ed Reed stole it from Matt Waters. They beat Virginia Tech by 2 points in the regular season finale. They played arguably the worst schedule of any national champion in the last 20 years as far as the number of ranked teams they played.
True.
And so that's why, but Miami fans, that's their first argument. So yes, Ray Lewis. And I have a Ray Lewis Ravens jersey. I'll admit it. I love Ray Lewis as a Raven.
and played one of the weaker teams you will ever face in a national championship game.
And one of the stories why Ray Lewis didn't go to Florida State was because he knew that he'd have to compete with Derek Brooks, and he knew that Derek Brooks was better than him. And I would say Derek Brooks was a better
I would also somewhat question Florida State's schedule in 2013.
I would say that, but Florida State played a ranked Miami team. They played a ranked Maryland team. They played a ranked – I think they played 5 ranked teams in that schedule. Miami played 2. Excuse me, Miami played 3 in the 01 season, including Nebraska in the bowl game. Florida State, Nebraska, and Virginia Tech.
You did have to play an extra game because of the conference championship game.
Right, but what I'm saying is we played more.
It was against Duke.
We played more ranked teams. Our closest game was the national championship game against Auburn by 3 points. Our second closest was to Boston College by 24.
We learned how to fix signal calling.
I'm not saying Boston College was a great team, but I'm saying when it comes out to which team was a better team, 13 Florida State would run a train on 01 Miami.
You're serious?
I mean, Michael, give me Michael Barrow or John Vilma all day.
Vilma
in college.
I'll give Vilma.
John Vilma was so damn good. He was so fast and so smart. And DJ Williams is the only person who's ever embarrassed me.
By the way, now that we're in the overtime portion, presented by, we don't have a sponsor yet, but now that we're in the overtime portion of our show, let's take time to legitimately say, I want to put it out here. Mark's going to tell you that you got to go to his personal podcast where he'll break down the national championship game. But I want it documented on paper or on video. I want it documented who wins Alabama, Ohio State, Monday night. One of us is credentialed. Who wins the game? I just found out today I got credentialed. James, start with you. Who wins?
I want Ohio State to win.
Okay. Who wins?
But I think Alabama. I think Alabama's gonna win. It's just they're tough, man. They're and in that defense. I mean, them having, I don't know if the guys are sick, but you can't miss. This isn't the time to be able to start missing practices. Even if it gets pushed back, you got to be crisp. You got to have all your reps.
Condition.
So that Alabama team, man, between the running back, the wide receiver, and like people get on Mac Jones, but Mac Jones is a very intelligent quarterback. I hope comes back. That's my partner's guy, one of his quarterbacks, but he has a chance. I like when people have a chance to go down as legends. And it might have kids named after him in Alabama. But if Mac Jones can go and win a national championship, come back next year, he'll probably be the hands-on favorite to be the number 1 overall pick next season, unless he messes it up. So you're saying Alabama. Logan, who you got? Alabama.
Mm-hmm. Gut told me like last week I picked Ohio State and Alabama to win their games. Gut told me.
You're a liar.
Gut told me Alabama. I'm not. I'm keeping it straight with you. But yeah, Alabama wins this game. And I know they're talking about Waddle coming back too, even if you just put him out there for a little bit during that game. I mean, it's not even fair with having Smith out there, who just recently won the Heisman last night. I do think Justin Fields had the game of his life. I mean, he was throwing some really pretty balls, and I'm excited to see what he can do when he gets to the NFL. Those were some pretty balls, and he was dealing with an injury throughout the game. That was impressive to me, but I just don't know if Alabama's defense does worry me though on picking them. But I think Ryan Day is a good coach. I hope for a good national championship. It'd be nice to get a very good national championship going into late of the fourth quarter. I think definitely with how this week's going and starting off, I think it'd just be good to have a good game. So I'm going to go Alabama.
First of all, Lenny the Gump Summers, you're right. I was wrong. I looked it up. We only beat Boston College by 14. I was wrong. I apologize. I think Alabama wins the game, but I think they better be damn worried about Ohio State, because that Ohio State team looked damn good against Clemson. And I think that Ohio State looked really good. I would not be shocked if Ohio State does pull off the upset and get a win. I'm going to say Alabama 38-34. I'm going to put the score out there. 38-34 Alabama.
I think Ohio State.
To win.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State's mental game right now is very good. When you're listening to Justin Fields' interview, yeah, he's the quarterback, and he's going to be the one to be the Speaker of the House. But they just seem like they're on a mission. And Ryan Day's interview too, it just sounded like they weren't done yet. Like this wasn't a surprise that they beat Clemson the way it was. It just didn't seem like that was a shock to them. So, shoot, I mean, it will be. I think it will be a fun. Was that Monday? Yeah, I think it'll be a fun Monday night.
You want to know how I knew Ohio State was going to be Clemson? Dabo kept talking. I don't remember picking that. I think I had to be off by then.
I had to pick it.
Because both of you picked Alabama and Clemson. You both said you wanted Ohio State to win because we all agreed that Dabo is Satan, but both of you picked Clemson.
No one here this year I picked it.
You may have picked
I picked it on my radio show, but here's why I figured it was going to happen. Dabo kept talking. He kept talking about how a team with only six, they only played like 6 games, shouldn't be in. A team that did this shouldn't be ranked this. And when he ranked them 11, I'm like, dude, if you're really confident and you think that that's a disadvantage, you're just going to whoop their behind. Like, you're not going to keep – we get it. Like, I don't need to hear this every other day about how I think it's unfair. Like, state your piece and then end it. But he kept talking about it, and I'm like, dog, you're afraid. Like, I smell fear. I was like, because that's the only reason he kept talking. And then the gods answered. Not just in the win, but when Tony Elliott wasn't there, and I made the joke that went viral, I didn't realize it was going to go that viral. Dabo had never thought that Black Lives Matter until he lost Tony Elliott. And that's when he realized that might be the only black life that I've ever thought that mattered, because he can't call it white. Tell me the first time anybody – this is a good question, Mark, and you can tell him I asked this. When you get the Clemson Jackals with the voices and stuff on there, ask them when's the first time they've ever seen Dabo Swinney draw up a play. Be like, man, that was a damn good play call, Dabo. You can't say it. With Tony Elliott, though, you can say it with Tony Elliott, who I hope somebody plucks him, because then the evil empire is going down.
Here's what I want to know from Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Mark, how big was your smile on Friday? Like, how much were you smiling? I went to bed at halftime. How big was your smile when you were watching that game?
There is something about being a fan when your team wins a huge game, but it gets like multiplied 10 times when there's vindication, when there's retribution. There could have been no 2 better teams to face in 2014 than Alabama, because they were the gold standard. They were everybody's to take them down. And then for some reason, Oregon just annoyed me that everybody talked about how fast they were. Nobody could keep up with them, and they ran plays so fast. Nobody could keep up with them. And all I could do is think, we played a similar situation 5 years ago in the Rose Bowl against an Oregon team where we were a touchdown underdog. And I knew we had 3 times as many NFL players. And yeah, sure enough, we went out there and beat them by 2 scores. And I felt the same thing was going to happen against Oregon. I got sick of hearing for a few weeks about how Oregon was just too fast for everyone and too up-tempo. Nobody could keep up with them. And so to put the hammer down on them felt good as well. And then, of course, you guys know the history with Clemson. And then considering what happened last year, yeah, it felt good.
Because Clemson, y'all were a miscommunication away from beating them last year. But that happens.
Or 3 bad calls.
That's why that too. But that's why you play the game, and that's what makes football so beautiful. Such a beautiful sport, because
it is a beautiful sport.
You have to be held accountable for your words. So either you can back it up. Boxing and MMA are the only ones that are better, because whatever you say, it is really physically violence going to be meted out to you. But if you say something, you better be able to back it up in those 2 sports, and because physically somebody's going to take it out on you.
Boxing's coming up here, man. I never was interested in it, but it's coming up. What do we got? Big one here. You know who Logan Paul is, James or Jason or Mark?
You know who Logan Robinson is.
Logan Paul fighting Floyd Mayweather. I mean, Jay Garcia.
Mike Tyson said.
This young
Mike
kid.
Tyson said he's going to get his ass. That was foolish.
I should have left like 10 minutes ago because I've got another thing to record. But there is one thing I want to ask James, just because of one thing that you said made me think of this. When you were on the field, I'm sure you had games in which there were like 5 guys on the offense with you that you felt like these guys are going to go to war with me and we're going to do it. And then the other 5 guys, and I'm just throwing out numbers, but you had, when you were talking about MMA and football being alike and having to back it up, you obviously had football teams and were on teams where you felt confident in certain guys, but not in other guys. Well,
Oh, without a doubt. Like,
in terms of just being on the field when you're thinking, this dude, that dude, I'm good with, but I don't know about him, and I don't know about him.
Yeah, when you have guys go down for injury, but it's mainly on the other side of the ball. So, like, I've seen a lot of bleed. So one of the funnest things to do when you're playing is to obviously run up the score on a guy team really, really good. And Coach Bowden will pull the ones. So you take your jersey. I mean, unless you're special teams, but then even then they try to like figure it out to where you ain't got to go in. So your shoulder pads are off, but you got to have your jersey on. So your jersey and your game pants are on, and you going around there drinking Gatorade and living your best life. And I forgot who we were playing, but we were up enough, and all we needed was the defense to get a stop, and then we could have taken our shoulder pads off. I'm not going to say the name to protect the innocent. But I saw him go out there, and one of my interview, my combine roommate, Kyler Hall, was like, "Dog, why you ain't taking your pads?" I said, "Man, they just put your boy in, dog. I might as well go ahead and tighten my shoulder pads back up because I know he about to get burnt." And guess what happened? He got burnt, and they scored a touchdown. Mm-hmm. I ended up having to play it was just like 2 or 3 more drives, but it just stuff like that happens. But there was a center that I knew that wasn't any good. And when he came in, when I was a younger player, and I had to, play more when I was with him, I'm like, God, what? We're either gonna get messed up or this guy they ended up taking a scholarship later on. He became a scholar. He was a good kid, very good person. He's just not a good football player. But that happened.
I know what he's talking about. I know exactly what he's talking about.
In his defense, it wasn't any good. That's what the coaches would say. So,
all right, boys. Good time, good stories, good analysis. It's Jason Parker, NBC6. It's James Coleman. Big game, James. Catch him on Fifth Quarter College Football. Follow him on Twitter. And, of course, Logan Robinson, Knoll Game Day. Follow all these guys on Twitter. Keep track of what they're doing there at Knoll Game Day.
And sponsor Florida State Seminoles Live. Contact Mark. Sponsor. I don't care if it's Popeyes. I don't care if it's Fifth Quarter. I don't care if it's people storming a Capitol building. Just sponsor our show. Yes, because if I can earn like $10,000 a month off a sponsorship, I'm going to throw at least 20 at each one of these guys. Wait, so it's we're all just going to make it big. Wait, we're going to get 20 grand out of this? Okay.
Pay this man. Paid
in full.
No, you guys are the best. Appreciate it.
All right, Mark.
Yes, y'all be good.